Hi. In this session, I'm going to talk about creating the SQL Server database project. So you can create the SQL Server database project using the Visual Studio, or you can create using the directly SQL Server database using the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So creating the SQL Server database project in Visual Studio has a lot of advantages. You can use it for automatic deployment as part of the Microsoft release management using the DocPack deployment. So let's get started how to create the SQL Server database. So before that, in case if you have not watched my some of the videos on YouTube channel, I have created a videos on how to create the ASP.NET Core website, web application, and automate the web application or the web API deployment using the release management, Microsoft release management using the CI/CD. So these are some of the topics you will be able to see my YouTube channel. So in this particular session, I'm going to talk about how to create the SQL Server database project. So let's get started. In order to create the SQL Server database project, so when you open the Visual Studio, you should be able to see SQL Server database project only when you install the SQL Server database tools. So you need to install SQL Server data tools for a particular Visual Studio. So if you are using Visual Studio 2017, please select the Visual Studio 2017 SQL Server data tools. So if you are using Visual Studio 2019, you have to select the version 19 database tool. So I've already installed the SQL Server database tools. Let's get started with creating the new project. So click on the Visual Studio and then select the create project. So let's say new project. So you have to select the SQL Server option here. Once you create the database tools, you will be able to see the SQL Server option and then SQL Server database project. So you can give appropriate name. I will leave it the default name. For this demo, it doesn't matter, but you can always give the proper database project name. So once this gets created, so this template gives the very basic database project template. Now, in order to create database tables or in order to create the database stored procedures, SQL scripts, post deployment, all that you can add it as part of this project. So let's say if I want to create a new table, then we can follow the convention. So it's not necessarily that you have to have a folder, things like that, but it's always better if you create, like, if I expand my project, let's say, so this is the folder structure in my SQL Server. Under book my taxi is my database name, which I'm going to create, let's say. So you can have a tables, you can have views, stored procedures. So same thing, you can create a folder structure so that it will be mapping with the backend SQL Server database. So let's say I have a table here. If I want to add a new table, so you can create a new table. Here, let's say if I am creating feedback, so you can give a name of the table feedback.SQL. So I have already created that script. So let's copy the scripts, which is already created. So go here, copy, paste the table. So this is the table. I have a table with the primary key, identity, incremental value by 1, name, email ID, subject, and message. So this is the feedback table I have. So let's say if I want to include some data or the static data, when I'm creating a table, I want to create, let's say if I'm creating a master table, so I want to include some data in this table. So for that, you can create a reference data or static data. So create one more folder for maintaining the static data. So we can call it as reference data, something like that. So, and then let me keep the data here. So let's say creator, or let me create a new file here. Add, it's going to be a script. Say tpo dot feedback dot SQL. This is my reference data, and this reference data will have, so let's say this is the data. I'll explain about this reference data. Now, in order to run this reference data, so this is my database table, and I want to insert some of the data while creating the database table. So I'm using the merge statement, merge into the feedback table. That's my as a target. So keep some data. So I have a primary key, name, email ID, subject, and message. So I'm inserting 2 entries as part of the database creation. This is a static kind of data if you want to maintain. So this is the syntax for using the merge script if it exists. If you are modifying something, it will update. If there is no data exist, it will insert. If you are trying to delete, which is exist in the database, but trying to delete as part of the script, so it will take care of all these things. So now I have a table, I have a reference data. Now to run this reference data, I need a post script file. So create add a new file. So if you go to the new file, user scripts, or you can select the post deployment, pre-deployment, the post deployment. So there are 3 scripts. So you can use this post deployment script, and then you need to follow this syntax in order to call the feedback.SQL file. So you can change this to SQL CMD mode so that it will not give a syntax error. So let's build that before deploying and rebuilding. So build successful when you want to publish to the database. So I'm publishing this database manually. So click on edit, and then let's say select. So actually you should be creating the new database instead of database 1, let's say database 2. Click on advanced and make sure that always recreate the database for the first time. So this is my connection string to I'm using the localhost local database. This is my database. This is the database name, database 2, and this is my SQL scripts. And if I click on publish, now it's trying to publish, and since it's only one table with the small data, so the SQL scripts execution is successful very quick. If we go to the SQL server and refresh the database, and I should be able to see the database 2 created with the table feedback. So if I click on this, I should be able to see the data got inserted into the database correct. So like this, you can add many tables if you want to add stored procedure. Let's say you click on new folder, stored procedure, and add a stored procedure. Same thing, you can add views, you can add functions. So just like here, I created a database with functions, reference data. So I want to insert data. This is my static data. if I want to modify, let's say after some time, I can modify this and redeploy. So make sure that this will be redeployed. So you can add all the tables and the static data which you want to insert as part of the database creation. And then you can have a stored procedures. Stored procedure will be created as part of the database deployment. So this is going to be automated using the docpack deployment. In my next session, I'm going to cover how to automate this database using the docpack as part of the Microsoft release management. So I have plenty of tables here. In case if you are planning to change the script, you can directly change the script here itself. Let's say I want to delete the column here. So you can delete the correct column, check in. So end of the day, developer will not be spending any time on deploying the SQL script. So developer responsibility is just checking the code into the TFS or the Git, and the docpack deployment as part of the release management will take care of the deploying the code, deploying the SQL script to the SQL server directly. So in order to deploy this code, here I have selected properties. If you see the target platform, I have a SQL Server 16. So if you are planning to deploy the same script as part of the docpack deployment, let's say you have to select the Microsoft Azure SQL Server V12 in order to deploy the same database project to Azure SQL Server. For the non-Azure, you will be selecting appropriate version, SQL Server 16, SQL Server 2017, etc. So let me see if I have covered all my topics here. Yeah, the prerequisites for creating the database project is SQL Server Database Tools, and we created this, and I've also covered the target platform. So in my next session, I'm going to cover how to deploy the same project, the database project, how to automate the database project using the Microsoft release management. I hope this session helps. Thank you very much.